the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI.
Our own government has been involved for decades, spraying chemicals into the air with no regard for the people those chemicals could be hurting.
A method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly.
This is absolutely happening, and it's basically now openly admitted, even though you're getting kind of pushback from the EPA, but I don't think it's intentional. What I discovered around starting in 2007, I was working in bioenvironmental engineering in the Air Force. And like I had mentioned previously, I tried to debunk this. And in the attempt to debunk it, I realized, as somebody who was approving forms called Air Force Form 3952s, I had to reject these toxicants on formerly known as an MSDS, now an SDS, because they're the very same toxicants we were trying to engineer out of the workplace. So why would we be procuring more? So lots of soil sampling, air sampling. Once I got threatened, I knew I'd found something, and it's very much happening. In fact, when I finished my master's around 2015, it was in one of my environmental textbooks that they were doing it. So it's a shock to me that people still think it's not happening. Yes, yeah. I sold the book, but I wish I still had it.
And we can all see it if you look up, and it just doesn't make sense, that it's coming from like a Delta flight flying overhead. So your role in the Air Force, if I'm understanding it correctly, was basically to approve these flights long before takeoff, and eventually you just said, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. Is that accurate broadly?
Well, it wasn't approving the flights. So when you're using hazardous materials, you have to track them from cradle to grave, use and disposal. So when I was in the Air Force, I'm basically OSHA and EPA, but in the military. So I had to make sure that we were keeping workers safe. So we had to understand what we were bringing on and how could it affect human and environmental health.
As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community. On the technical side, greenhouse gas emission reductions would still have to accompany SAI to address other climate change effects, such as ocean acidification, because SAI alone would not remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations. Others might seize on SAI's benefits and back away from their commitment to carbon dioxide reductions. And as with other breakthrough technologies, global norms and standards are lacking to guide the deployment and implementation of SAI and other geoengineering initiatives. Now, I could go on and on and on and on about the things that fascinate me, but rather than talk about them, I thought I'd stop here and start the conversation with Judy, and then I can take some of your questions. I very much appreciate the invitation to come back here in the Council on Foreign Relations, and as I say to all the groups I speak to, it is a tremendous honor and privilege every day to be referred to as the Director of Central Intelligence Agency. I lead an organization full of patriotic men and women who take great risks and put themselves on the front lines in order to keep their fellow Americans safe and secure, and to do what they can to keep this country's security secure. Thank you so much.
People will say to me, they're like, well, we don't think this is happening. If this isn't happening, why have multiple states passed laws banning weather engineering, including Florida, including Texas? Can you explain that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I know a lot of people have taken the angle of, because people still don't believe it. Even if you don't believe it, there's people that are trying to take action saying, look at what they're claiming. Because when the government claims that they're going to do something, they're already doing it. And they're trying to say, even if you don't believe it, would you want it to happen? It has these human and environmental impacts. So yes, and there's a lot of those legislators have reached out to myself and Dan Wigington over the past couple of years. So they have the information and all the government documents that are on geoengineeringwatch.org.
Biggest question, in your opinion, why is this being done? And again, it might not be EPA, could be DARPA, could be War Department, could be private companies, but why are they doing this?
I think there's a multitude of reasonings. You control the weather, you can handicap many people. We did it flooding the Ho Chi Minh Trail. But when you have this huge climate change initiative, we needed to find ways to dim the sun and decrease the solar load. So this is fear-based, and I also think it's financially incentivized through betting on crops and, again, handicapping anyone in war.
Yeah, so it kind of takes away the organic from anything organic you're buying, because this is then sprayed into the air, and then and gravity brings it down. Eventually, the rain brings it down, and it is all over all of us. What are these crops doing to people? Or I'm sorry, these chemicals doing to people?
Well, a lot of them are heavy alkaline metals and salts. And what they do, again, is that synergistic toxicity. You're breathing it in, you have the dermal absorption and an inhalation. And it does depend on relative humidity and different weather patterns. Like I live in Michigan, so we have all seasons in the same day.
Right.
So the dissipation rates are faster. When you ingest that, it is eating away at your gut health. And the thing is when they're using strontium and barium, those things bioaccumulate in the bones, and it also displaces potassium. And if anyone's ever had low potassium, you know that causes a massive issue with your nerves and your heart, and it can mimic a heart attack. So we're getting massively bombarded because, again, different routes of exposure, and depending on where you live, you can be more exposed already because you have background elements in your drinking water.
Jeez, it's so scary. Kristen, we appreciate you being with us again tonight. Thank you. Look forward to having you back. Kristen Megan, again, one of the only people willing to talk about this publicly. Thank you.